Welcome back to Heard You Like It Raw. I'm your host, Nicolina. How are my little Goddies doing? Hope you all are thriving and living your best lives. This has been a crazy fucking new year already, am I right? Literally the first 2 weeks for me were absolute fucking amazement. And then the last two, I've just been like, okay, so you thought. The universe literally never fucks around, I swear. So today I have the pleasure of joining me today is my friend and my neighborhood astrologer, Jozie from Raw Ascension. Josie's here to talk about the stars and all amazing things. So welcome.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be here, actually.
Yeah. Took us a while to get here, that's for sure.
It did, but we're here.
We're here. We're thriving. We're surviving.
Yes, we are. Thriving and surviving.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing. Oh my God. Yeah. So what the fuck has been in the air the last couple weeks?
That's been sort of the sentiment of most of my clients and most of the people who I talk to about astrology lately. It's just like, what the fuck is going on? It's funny because there's never not a time where people are saying that to me. Astrology affects everyone differently, but there's definitely collective vibes that happen. What does a collective vibe look like? Well, that can be determined or influenced, not determined, I would say influenced by the transits. When you hear astrologers refer to the transits or talk about the transits, what we're referring to is the current placements of the planets and the constellations and the stars at where they are now today. And then that ultimately interacts with everyone's unique mathematical birth chart of where they were when they were born. And that creates a conversation and an energetic flow or potential effect. But outside of knowing the individual's birth chart, we can assume some things are going to be collectively affecting everyone just by understanding the transits that are happening. And so I can say that we have been in a really intense period of retrograde since a little bit before halfway through 2023. Last year, we went through a period where almost every planet, almost every asteroid, everything got its turn going retrograde. It took almost 9 months, and Uranus just went direct, and that means that retrograde period came to an end, and it now is back to that regular motion, forward motion, so to speak. Thank God. Yeah. But the thing is that Uranus is is really all about change and doing things that were old in a new way and innovation and taking things to the next level. And whenever you consider that that's happening, all of that goes direct. While it was in retrograde, we were getting a huge amount of information around those themes in our life, what needs to be elevated, what needs to be transformed, what needs to be sort of like rebelled against and then like redone, revolution. It's definitely a script flip kind of energy. But the caveat there is that it's been in the sign of Taurus, which is a zodiac sign that typically represents stability and slow moving structure. And so it's been a pretty uncomfortable experience, I would say, in some ways for some people, maybe not for everyone. I want to welcome anybody that has had different experiences, without a doubt. But yeah, now we have all this like info and all this new data that we collected while we were reconsidering and reevaluating during this retrograde period. And it's just boom. And we're seeing a lot of changes with finances, personal finances, personal forms of security, living spaces, a lot of people moving physically, a lot of changes to how we make our money, where we're receiving our money, more of it all of a sudden, or less of it all of a sudden. You also have Pluto moving into Aquarius, which is sort of like the big talk of like the season, but that's also playing a huge factor in this.
Yeah, for sure. That can completely just fucking come in and be like, hey guys, I'm also here too. Another crazy energy in the loops. I think for me personally, like the whole entire fucking home and family and where we make our money, and the last year for me has been so many changes with my home and my family situations and my finances. And it's like always like something I always tell people, like for the non-believers, like I've always said to my friends, like this shit has just proven me right, like time and time again, and it just makes so much sense. And I don't believe in coincidences, so like that's why I've followed this way. And then now it has led me to you, that has brought in my horizons with all these astro chats, and I'm learning like so much more, and it's just boggles my mind that more people don't know about this.
It's so much fun. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of obsessed. I've been, I think, obsessed for like a really long time.
Yeah.
But for me, it's about sharing the different ways to use this modality. And it's a calendar, it's a compass, it's a clock, it's a system of measurement. You can use it to zoom in and zoom out on yourself, on the world around you, to examine your place in the world.
Yeah.
All of these different things. And it's funny because I like to say that, it doesn't matter if you believe in astrology, because honestly, it believes in you. And
Period.
That is what it is. It is happening. It is happening, baby. It is happening around you. It's happening to your coworkers, your neighbor, your boss, your mom, whoever is reacting or, experiencing, things in front of you. We see it happening in front of us. And so that's where, even if the transits, the current astrology, is not affecting per se you or us or me in a certain way, just the understanding that it could be affecting another person. And that would be why, or an idea of, not why, but an idea of the energy behind where somebody's coming from.
No, entirely. And I'm a big believer of putting yourself in other people's shoes, but then throwing astrology into it and understanding a little bit more of my own birth chart and other people's birth charts just is it like you said, it's just another tool to learn about ourselves and reflect back and learn how to be there for other people while also not like fucking up our own vibe and everything. And I think for me too, a big thing that came out of my astrology chart is like learning how to find that like self-care for myself and the things that really work for me and that don't work. Like it doesn't have to be like huge thing, but even just like little self-care things, like because I have a lot of Taurus placements and Libra placements in there. Like you were saying, like all the Venus energy, like I need to be doing pretty things in my life. And since you gave me that like advice with my chart and pointed out like why, and it's because like these houses are ruled by these planets that embody this, like since I've implemented more of that, it's like, oh wow, my days are actually a lot nicer to me.
No, I love that. And I really want to just say too, the word advice, for me, it's illuminate. I just want it, anytime I do a reading with you or anyone, it's not advice from me. It is me illuminating a part of your unique design that's there, regardless of if I'm reading it or not. Now, I obviously am interpreting it to you, just as if you were going to any language that you didn't understand and you were asking an interpreter to interpret a full sentence to you. You would have to ask them to go word by word and give you the definition of each word so that you could then interpret your own meaning in order to really get a full sense of that for yourself. Otherwise, if you're just like, hey, what does this Rumi script mean? What is this Sanskrit? What is, you don't know it, because that person that's translating it is it's coming through their essence. And that's why I say that what I do is it should serve as a basis point for your own research, or understand that at least the type of astrology that I work with is intuitively based. And that's not all astrology. Astrology is not inherently a spiritual tool or vehicle. For me, I access it intuitively and work with it intuitively.
Yeah, which I think is like super dope. It makes it a little more personal and makes the illuminations even more to deeply resonate with that specific person too, because it's literally like their guides connecting, and a lot of people don't even really know what that looks like, let alone how to ask their own guides and intuition and stuff like that. So I think too, like when I got my first reading done ever, like professional reading done, was years ago, but that even created a bigger catalyst for than my own personal deep dive. And then I was able to like learn more things, work through more things. But I think a lot of people are afraid to step into like this unknown about it, and they think it's weird, taboo or anything, but it's like, it's literally just, again, another tool, and it's been around for so fucking long. Like you're saying, it's literally just like another language. Like, I don't know what anyone's afraid of.
It's not just a language. Well, I think that there's been a lot of, there's been a lot of marketing, so to speak, and smear campaigns, and you want to say misinformation just about it over the centuries, not just recently. People have come to disregard it in a lot of ways, and I think that makes it in a lot of ways even more powerful, because it's something that is, again, happening all around us that not everybody is tapped into. And we have the ability to tap into it and just have that flow, that awareness. And for me, it's not about making decisions based off of the astrology. I want to be really clear on that. It's about my dear friend and one of my personal astrologers that I seek, and I have so much respect for her, Raw Intuition. She's another intuitive astrologer. You can check her out at Raw Intuition LLC on Instagram or anywhere, but she talks about it in a really unique way. My brain just stopped, but what were we talking? It's so important. She mentions
as
it
a tool, not a language.
As a tool, not a language. It'll come back. Maybe it'll come back.
Oh, people being willing to open up about it, and that we're the ones to kind of nope.
Yeah, well, I just think that it really is. It is a language that you come to understand for yourself, is what I'll say.
Yeah,
is the most powerful way to receive astrology is through your own lens, and to make your own determinations about your own birth chart, and to seek counsel and guidance on how to interpret it for yourself. Yeah. Not everybody's going to take the time to go and learn that. And so if you're not into it, then find a trusted astrologer. But it's a really cool thing to dig into.
No, it definitely is. And there's so many different branches of it too. So like, to a lot of people that are more sciencey or mathematical about it, like there is that route as well. There's like the literal math of it that is insane, that I'll talk to Gilbert about it, and I'm literally like, dude, what the heck?
There were 80 forms of documented known astrology, like forms of astrology, Aztec astrology, Mayan astrology.
So many different interpretations.
You would not imagine there are so many types of it. And, that's one of the foundations of Astro Chats. That's why we do what we do, so that we can create a platform for everyone to sort of share their unique vision through the lens of astrology, so that we're creating Astro Chat serves two purposes. It's science. It's like a scientific think tank. By science, I want to clarify, I mean that we are chewing on concepts, refining them, spitting them out, pulling them apart, passing them around, dissecting them with the audience, with each other. I've personally studied astrology for 20 years. I've read probably thousands of charts over the 6 years that I've worked with people one-on-one. It's been the biggest blessing of my life, and eliminated so much in my own personal chart.
Yeah.
But there are so many forms of astrology, and it's so cool that we are developing it and pulling it apart and creating astrology as we go. We are in this new age of creating everything again with Aquarius, this age of Aquarius. We are taking what we have and what we've been given, what humanity has created up until this point, and we're reinventing it.
Yeah.
And the thing about Pluto going into Aquarius on the same day that the sun went into Aquarius this year, that was a historic event. And it really does require destruction.
Yeah, entirely.
It requires a little bit of destruction. Pluto's the great destroyer, and it's going to be in this sign for a very long time.
Yep.
And so we're gonna see for the next 20 years, as it's through this space, just how weird we can all get.
No, entirely, because Aquarius is the weird one. Definitely.
It's so weird.
Yeah, I've been saying to my friends for years and years and years, and just being like, we're getting into the age of Aquarius. Like, y'all better watch what's gonna happen. Things are gonna have to crumble, and then we're gonna be a whole new society, if you will, or just a lot of things are coming to an end. So new innovations can come, new technologies can come, but
Saturn moving into Pisces is also bringing about the same form of reforming of structural energy, and authoritative figures becoming more empathetic, and systems of authority taking a little bit of a different approach, really being forced to, just by the collective energy.
Entirely.
And so we're going to witness some really interesting shifts collectively and from a larger scale perspective, because these planets we're talking about are outer planets, and they affect the generations and the society more than they do our inner day-to-day lives. Like, for instance, like Mercury or Venus.
Yeah, and I think like we can already see a lot of that happening in the way, you know, workplace environments are, and
100%.
Just fucking everywhere. It's literally insane. And that's why when people are like so ignorant to astrology and just like, oh no, that's just stupid shit or whatever, I'm like, just read. Just open a fucking book.
Just read it. Yeah, and I don't feel any negative way towards anybody that's not into astrology. I understand that, like, some people do Tai Chi, some people are into yoga, some people, you know, run or lift weights or, you know, go crazy for CrossFit. But at the end of the day, they're all moving energy through their body and making their physical vessel healthier. And if astrology is not the modality that allows you to take a step back and examine your life and the world around you from a non-personal perspective, then I invite you to find what does, because it has been such a powerful tool for me that has how it's allowed me to grant myself great internal permission to just be as I am and to allow others to be as they are. And also this is what I was thinking of with Rob, what she was saying is that honestly, after all that, it comes to me, but she says that astrology, it's not about predicting that it's going to rain on Thursday, because I can see it in the astrology. It's going to rain on Thursday. Okay, fine. Maybe we can all agree that it's going to rain on Thursday. So that doesn't mean that it's telling you what to do. You get to then use your free will to decide what to do. You can absolutely stay inside and avoid the rain all day. You can go outside and play in the rain. You can take an umbrella outside. You can do all of these different things, as she puts it, to react and plan and flow with the rain. But most certainly there's an advantage to knowing that it's going to rain. And then you can choose how you're going to react to it. And there are forms of astrology that are incredibly, how you're going to show up. There are forms of astrology that are incredibly predictive, and they focus more heavily on that. And I think that's really amazing. For me, it is always, it always comes back to, bless you.
Thank you. Yeah, I knew another one was coming.
For me, it always comes back to what I need to personally receive from it in the moment, which is where it's come to that intuitive space for me.
No, entirely. Yeah, sorry for sneezing, guys. I'm a little sicky today, but that's okay. We're thriving. We're surviving. Amazing. Yeah, I think this is going to be a crazy year for astrology too, because of all these retrogrades we had in the previous year. You know, a lot of places for people to grow and reinvent the way they operate in their lives. And at least for me specifically, like I've been already saying, like that whole last year prepared me so I can, you know, stand in my own and build the strong foundation, because I worked through a lot, and now I can kind of utilize these new innovative energies.
Well, looking at the year you were born tells you a lot about how this is affecting you. Looking at just different aspects of your astrology gives you a clue as to how to flow with this energy instead of potentially against it. Imagine everything you're doing, everything you're putting your energy towards. Imagine if it happens to be flowing against your natural design. When you could just simply shift to another area that you're probably secretly interested in anyways. That you're probably designed to thrive at anyways. And just freaking do that.
Yeah, but people are so afraid of doing that. And like there's more and more, like as we've seen over the last decade, like more people being more accepting of others and being more like, yes, be yourself and whatever. But it's like still so much fear-based in this society. And it's just like, for what? Be weird. Be your inner Aquarius.
Yeah, we're going to see more of it.
Yeah, entirely. Definitely it's going to be a weird year, especially for the finances and seeing all of that shit change. Can you explain what all the astrologers are looking at about that?
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned earlier, and I'll touch on it, the workplace changes. And that's something that I've been speaking on a lot in the chats, is that one of the things, and I come from a corporate background, that you understand right now, one of the greatest challenges is employment retention, retaining employees. These big corporations, everyone is having a hard time keeping people in their jobs. I think that what COVID really showed us, and I'm not the first person to say this, is that we can make money in different ways. We don't have to grind out in jobs that we hate. All of a sudden, we experienced the worst case scenario. We got laid off. We lost our job. We had to move. People had to make those structural changes to their lives. And then also we have a new force, a new generation hitting the workforce that also operates in a totally different way than millennials and boomers, and Gen X has sort of been, and of course I'm generalizing, has been trained to sort of interact at work. And the trend that we're seeing is that people are just fucking leaving their job if they are not happy. They're just not staying. They're using their PTO. They're dipset. They're done. They're out. They're like, I'm done. I'm not working here. I can't do this. I'm not a slave. I'm not a robot. I hate this job. Or I'm not passionate. And this is not about not being grateful. As a lot of these like people talk about, like, oh, gratitude. Like, listen, there's an abundance of opportunities out there. And these young professionals or these people who are finally fed up with whatever generation they belong to, that they're finally knowing their worth and leaving, they're going to other jobs. They're not just going and collecting welfare. And I know that's a fun story to spin in certain media outlets, but these people are finding other jobs in fields that are usually more aligned with what they're trying to do. And this is reminiscent of what we're talking about. Saturn moving into Pisces, Saturn, the sign of structure and regime, so to speak, moving into the intuitive and feelings-based flowing sign of Pisces. And I'll leave it up to you to do a little bit of research on what happens. Like, go back in time, just Google what years has Saturn been in Pisces and do a little national history research around what has happened just collectively whenever that goes down. And it's a lot of this. It's a lot of, now all of a sudden we're seeing employee assistance programs skyrocketing. No longer you don't just call the hotline with the poster in the bathroom and you get a free therapy session. Now there's yoga, there's meditation. You can jump on a Zoom call at lunch to do a mental health check-in. There's LGBTQA plus BIPOC inclusive groups popping up inside of larger organizations. It's amazing to see that it's happening. Now, I personally don't have warm, fuzzy feelings about it because I understand that from a corporate investment perspective, the investors are seeing that, oh my God, like, what are we going to do? People are leaving. They're flocking out in record numbers. And so there have been a lot of people, a lot smarter than me in the world of what we do and what we're talking about, who have advised them. Because again, you don't have to believe in astrology. The people who run the world, the energies that really flow, however you want to play that, whether you think it's aliens or the politicians, whoever, whatever, believe me, they're aware of astrology in forms that we probably don't even have access to anymore. Honestly, they probably use way more scope than we get access to, from my opinion, in my opinion. But it's really creating this requirement from from the top of corporations, where the investors are coming in and saying, all of a sudden during board meetings, okay, what are you guys doing to keep employees in your jobs? And so they're funding it. They're like, all right, well, here's, an enhanced budget for employee development. Go find somebody that can do yoga on the week, at lunch on a Zoom call, whatever. How do I know this? Because it's happening. I'm being given these opportunities. I see friends around me, not just astrologers, but people who are in this community of using these alternative and ancient modalities to discover themselves and align themselves and take care of themselves in a more intuitive way, regardless of your religion. Just as a human, it is starting to come out and it's happening. And I'm grateful for whatever reason. And it's really giving us a clue as to what we're going to see over the next 20 years, especially. Especially.
The
The next 5-6 years, but 20 for sure.
but just even the next 5, like I'm excited. And also, I mean, like to a lot of people might say, see, this is also just something about me, is like I'm excited for people to go through the shit, go through the chaos, go through the destruction, because the other end is going to be so amazing.
Well, when you think about taking new form, something has to be destroyed completely in order for that to happen. And I truly believe that we're living in a similar era of time where it's going to be like the people who were born in horse and buggy and then died during the revolution or the industrial age.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like there's machinery and people are moving with steam and all of these things are happening. Yeah. They were born in and died in 2 totally different worlds because of where they were at. I think seriously. If it's not us, I think it's going to be our kids, but I think it's going to be us. Like, give them 20 years. Waymo is going to be in a totally different place. Like, Waymo could be flying around or something. I don't know. Find this clip later. Say I said it. Whatever.
I love that you just brought up Waymo.
It's that time. Waymo is it's so Aquarian. It's so Age of Aquarius. Like, this is what we're doing. We're just casually doing it. You guys. We're casually, all of it. I've been in a Waymo. You've been. Everybody's just casually interacting now with machines.
Which is insane. And I like, am not surprised that you brought it up, but I literally was just about to bring up Waymos because 2 days ago I was walking around and it just like pulled up next to me, let these people out, and then the car with nobody else in it drove off. And I'm literally like, this is Age of Aquarius. Like that's
baby steps, baby. That's nothing. That's just so we don't freak out when the rest of it comes in the next like 5-6 years. That's what I'm saying. Watch me. Or not watch me, watch it.
Watch the aliens.
Watch the aliens.
They're coming. They're going to be in our school systems. No, I know, you're Aquarius moon. You're like, I'm this inner weirdo.
But it's something to look forward to. It's not ominous. It's not scary. Just be willing to reform.
Entirely. And I think too, a lot of people though, is so many people struggle with change. Yeah. So many people don't want it to change. They're perfectly fine with where they are. They're like, can the world just fucking enough?
I think that's human nature though. And I really honor that. Yeah. I think everybody, if you're feeling that way, I really think instead of trying to move away from that feeling, move into that feeling.
Yep. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Just be like, wow, okay, so this is human. Yep. So this is human, not wanting to change, but facing it anyways and then overcoming it.
Yeah, entirely.
We ultimately always, God damn it, isn't it amazing?
Nope, entirely.
Sitting here right now, you and I, to have this conversation, we have had to overcome so many moments, circumstances, worst case scenarios that came to fruition that we never thought we could overcome. Somehow we did. Yep. We drove here. We're here right now having this conversation.
No, literally.
And that's what it is to be human.
Yep. And just still go through the things and still go knowing that there's going to be good days to come after that, good moments and stuff like that. That's why throughout like all the chaos, I mean, for me personally too, I'm like, you just need to get your ass over here. I don't know how, which way, but we need to sit down and just do something like this because, you know, like this, it's like moments like this to be grateful for. We get to do things like this. We get to just sit here and relax and talk about astrology and things 100%. We love. And like, it's so important to remember that during all the chaos, during all the upheaval and all the new forms that are taking place and shape and
to take care of yourself and really bring it back to that centering. And people talk a lot about raising the vibration. I say you really need to locate your own vibration, tune that, and then hold that.
Yep.
Hold that. Keep your vibration so damn consistent that the people around you are really inspired by vicariously to find and raise their own vibration.
Yeah, entirely.
Don't get lost in that belief that it's your job to inspire them because it really isn't.
No.
It's our job to hold our own vibration.
Yeah.
From my perspective.
No, entirely. And I think a lot of people too, I mean, like just in the type of survival world we live in is like, again, fear-based, fear of change, fear of all of these things is like people are afraid that other people will dim their lights, but it's like, it's not that about it all. It's like, you don't have to give, like the more you give, the more you get, but it's like, it's not about somebody taking those things away from you by you doing that or like you filling your cup just so they can drain you. Like that's the glass half empty type of way to look at it, you know, as opposed to it's like, if I just keep doing it, everybody else will just keep doing it and 100%. Then it will get better. And I say all the time on this podcast, fucking strength in numbers. It comes up every single episode. I'm like, strength in numbers, just more people just start doing it. More people start being more compassionate and just focusing on themselves, but knowing that like everybody else is there, and that like, you know, you can let go of all those fears because it's happening anyway.
Well, and it's not even for me. I've learned letting go of fears. It's like so much around that. It's like,
Yeah.
I have an 8-year-old, and I talk to him a lot about fears and things like that. He's a Virgo sun, and so he's a cautious kid.
Yeah.
And he's like,
it's like,
you
maybe
know,
not.
there are some fears there. He's so brave though. And we talk about how you can't be brave unless you're afraid.
Yep.
You have to be afraid first before you can be brave. And there's something really powerful about doing something while afraid.
Entirely.
Do it afraid.
Yeah.
Don't take fear as a sign that you shouldn't do something always. Check in with your body, check in with your guides. But oftentimes fear for me, when I notice that, you know, if I'm getting ready to give a public presentation or teach a class or something like that, and I start to feel a little bit of like nervousness, for instance, I take that as like, wow, this is important to me. I'm really grateful that this is so important and that I care so much about the presentation of this. Or even fear of like, oh no, I'm coming up on this busy street. What's going to happen? Well, your body's trying to keep you from dying. You know, like you're next to something that could kill you. So you're rightfully reacting with fear.
Entirely.
It doesn't mean don't move forward. It just move forward cautiously.
Yeah, no, entirely.
Aware.
Yeah, that like that feeling is going to happen. It's not just going to disappear, but just move forward. Yeah, being aware, being completely aware during it too. And like that's also something that comes out of it. It's like recognizing the fear and then being like, oh, okay, hey, that's what it is.
That's what it is.
And that's it.
Hey, buddy. Hey there. Yeah. Okay. Do I need to how do I need to react to this?
Is this run for my life fear, or is this just like makes my tummy upset?
Exactly. And where is this fear coming from? Is this a fear that since I've started this practice, I've found that a lot of fear comes from subconscious places and things that aren't even attached to the present. You're feeling fear and you're like, oh, wow, okay, I need to be brave. So I need to acknowledge this fear first. Wait a second. Fear. What do I have to be afraid of right now? I'm not afraid right now. Oh, this is triggering something that I need to actually work on that is coming up from my subconscious. And so it's just astrology, yoga, whatever you want to call it. It's just consciously experiencing your own experience. Your own self and being aware of when you're operating from a subconscious, unaware perspective.
Entirely. Absolutely entirely. When did you realize that in your experience, this was something that you were supposed to experience and go to and scream to the world about astrology?
I mean, I knew that astrology was going to be a part of my life as soon as I found out about it when I was 13 years old. Amazing. I had no doubt in my life, like at all, that it was going to be a part of my life for the rest of my life. But I knew that I had to start sharing it with others whenever I noticed that people, for whatever reason, like to listen to me talk about it. And I'm not coming from a place of being like, oh, people like me, which I love. I'm grateful that people love to listen to me talk about it. Now, this is a little specific to my chart, but my North Node, my purpose, my South Node, what I'm here to do, it really gives me the opportunity to do that in order to share the platform that I have with other astrologers, to take the ability that I have to cultivate a crowd and share that with other, maybe even definitely more talented and experienced and just so valuable that I can share that. And we can all not just rise as individual astrologers, but we bring astrology forward and up and make it accessible to the community. I started to realize before I was doing the Astro Chats, these community conversations with the panel of astrologers. I was doing, one-on-one astrology. I was using it as an integrative practice, part of the rest of my practice, which is expansive past astrology. But I knew that it needed to be shared because there were so many of the same questions, but such passion around them. Everybody, it seemed, so many people rather, were so interested in asking some of the most basic questions. And I thought, if I just could give a resource, give a digestible resource. If I could break it down for this person in 3 minutes and they walked away having a clear idea, maybe we can do this on a larger scale.
Yeah.
And maybe we could get other people that speak from a different language, from a different perspective, whether that's Mary or, Chris, a Mayan astrologer. We have so many talented astrologers on our panel that see it from different perspectives, that maybe the viewer, maybe the person, that's how they need to hear it. That's what clicks. That's what drives it home and makes this a tool that they can utilize. And then that person goes and learns about astrology, and then they come back and they bring a new, fresh perspective to the world, to the science of astrology. And so that is really the answer. Like, how did I know that I needed to scream this to the world, that I needed to start doing astro chats whenever I knew that it was bigger than myself? I feel like it's bigger than myself, and I'd like to be able to be an instrument in
add your part to it.
This being accessible and, I guess, relevant to now.
Entirely.
Relevant to what people are going through now. And how can we use this as a tool now in society, but also really interpersonally to understand our own experiences.
No, definitely. And I think, like what you're saying too, like literally the strength in numbers, like more people can just add to the collective, because even if it isn't for everybody, it is for somebody, and it does resonate, and it does help, and it does help add to that in some way, shape, or form. And I like the part that you brought up about, like, especially now in society, it like hit a light bulb in me, because like astrology's been around for so long, but
forever,
now
since humans have been along,
literally older than fucking all of us, my God. And so I was thinking that, since we're in this whole new technology, everybody and everything is available at our fingertips and stuff. I guess more so like people going online and saying like, I'm this astrology, I'm this and whatever, is what could you give people who don't have a friendly neighborhood astrologer and a trusted astrologer in their life? Like, if they're going online and scrolling on TikTok and just finding random shit and whatever, like, what advice could you give them for like either, taking things literally, taking things with a grain of salt, or how could they find out who is trusted? Any guidance along those lines for people trying to get into it?
I think I'll answer that in 2 parts. The first part is like, how do you find a trusted astrologer, or I'm going to expand that to spiritual guide, psychic, whatever the hell you're into. I'll even say, God, you could even say preacher or something like that. Even a spiritual, a preacher or a spiritual leader, a church leader, anything like that. If you're looking for something like this, I feel like the number one criteria for me is that I don't believe in fucking gurus.
Yeah.
And anybody that tries to sell me their services as something that I can't do without them, I'm very leery of. Okay. So I come from a teaching perspective with all the readings that I do, unless you're just not interested in it and you just want a message, that's fine. But that means that you've got to really have a trust for what you're receiving. Whenever you're on TikTok or whenever you're on Instagram, even when you Google an astrology question, like, what does Juno represent in my chart? What does Saturn represent in my chart? What is the 5th house? Oftentimes, Google's going to pull up a snippet of a blog that was written by someone like me.
Oh, fascinating.
That has maybe even Cafe Astrology. They all have writers. They all have people like me that have hopefully read hundreds of books. I have read hundreds of books. I have had multiple formal teachers. I've studied astrology to the point where I know that I am a student of astrology and I have infinite amount to learn.
Yeah.
I swear to you, being around the amazingly talented astrologers on our panel, I learn every day. I feel like I know nothing. I'm like, wow, after 20 years of studying this personally, I feel like I still am just an infant.
Yeah. See, but how you look at them is how I like look at you. Like, you'll say something and I'm like, whoa.
And so my advice would be then, if you hear somebody that says something and it speaks to you, use it as a basis for your own research. If you are really lit up by astrology, if you're scrolling, if you hear videos, every time your friends, you start hearing astrology in the corner of the room, you gravitate towards that conversation. That means that you have an aptitude for this language.
Yep.
Learn it.
Yeah.
Understand it. Begin to acclimate yourself to it. Get yourself a basic book. Get yourself something that you can really start to learn the archetypes and the personality types of all 12 signs, all of the planets, and just start there. And then honestly, it's not that hard to find a friendly neighborhood astrologer. You can always reach out to me and I'll hook you up with one of our astrologers. Yep. We all do virtual stuff, but there's so many talented astrologers all over the place. It's just insane and really cool.
Yes, and you can find Jozie at raw_ascension. I will link it all in the podcast description, episode description, as well on our socials at Heard You Like It Raw. It'll be all over the place. I was gonna say something that I forget now.
That's who I was talking.
And that's okay. That's all we do here.
And it's what we do here. It's with what are you gonna do? Sagittarius gals just chatting our lives
seekers. Away. My God. Also, just a funny little trend, just being women in life. Like anybody out there that's simply a man. Why? Why lately? Just why men? That's also been the thing that astrology can't define right now for me. Yeah. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say was even like when you were like, even if you're researching, like get a book that you can learn about the sun signs and the houses and the planets and whatever, and do your own research. I think that was a huge shift for me in me being a student of astrology, because I always loved it. I was always fascinated by it, but I always felt so naive, so I never wanted to speak about it because I was just like, oh, well, I don't know. I know nothing, you should probably go to somebody else. But I think your perspective too was like, hey, learn it, but also interpret it in your own way.
Yeah.
And use it for how it makes sense to you, because that's like your own inner voice, inner guides being like, hey, this is what is resonating for us. It's unique to us. And also that can add to the collective, like as you're learning and you're a student of astrology, don't be afraid to share, because it might be something that all these other astrologers have just never heard. Like you just
or
never
they look
know.
at it in a totally different person, in a
exactly.
different way.
Yeah,
we blow each other's minds like that daily in our little astro pod.
Yeah, literally.
It's like, whoa, I've never looked at it that way. And both points are totally valid. That's what's so cool about astrology, is that everybody can be right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that everybody on this panel, they're all different ages and backgrounds and everything. And all of them still are like, no one is like, oh yeah, I'm the most elite astrologer. Like they're all just like, we're students, we're learning every single fucking day. And even you just said like these people that Mary, for example, has been studying this shit since like the 80s.
Oh my God. She's like an infinite source.
And I'm sure she's like probably sometimes like, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. How amazing, how peculiar. Like
it's so cool. And I invite any astrologers listening that want to be a part of that with us. Like you don't have to just be in Phoenix, Arizona. This is something you can be a part of remotely with us.
Go on the live when I can't make it. I log on the live.
We post these live all the time. Every astro chat that we do, we have it live on Instagram. It really is just that conversation with a panel of astrologers. We involve the audience, and we really just have a lot of fun breaking it down from different perspectives.
Yeah,
and it's a big nerdy astro nerdiness.
Exactly. Yeah, I think for me, like when I moved out here, I wanted to at least keep that sense of the spiritual community that I had back in Florida. And these like astro chats every week have just helped me remain consistent in my own practice, my own beliefs, and kind of staying true to myself, because it's not necessarily like all the messages I get. Like, yes, your guys' speed readings, your words are always amazing, of course, but also like the consistency of these chats teaches you so many other things about just showing up, showing up for community, showing up for yourself, showing up in so many other ways. And yeah, it's just been really fucking beautiful. So if you've never been to an astro chat, go to a freaking astro chat, log on the live. Like literally, I think I reach people in like 12 or 13 countries. Like literally, you can just find her online and go on live. And you can engage.
Many different types of astrology as well. It's not just me. It's a good branch into the network if you're looking for more information about the over 80 types of astrology that exist in the world or have existed, practiced by different cultures.
Entirely. Absolutely, entirely. It's crazy. Yeah, I found astrology when I was like probably around 13. I had this girl in middle school. Shout out this girl Olivia I was friends with.
Olivia.
Yeah, which is actually super random. So she showed me astrology when I was 13 in middle school. She had a book and then told me this crazy story that she read on Tumblr of this Pisces man completely heartbreaking this woman and all of this crazy stuff. And I was just fascinated. I was like, this is insane. And then I started learning online. I know. Now I have all these Pisces moons in my life, which is weird and brings me to my whole point of bringing this up is I had a couple dreams lately in the last like 2 weeks or so where I'm like, why is all this Pisces moon happening? But specifically in my dreams, I've had two of my childhood friends show up that are both Aquariuses. And they're the only Aquariuses I've been friends with like in my entire life. And I'm like, what are these two women like literally popping up in my dreams to tell me about like some catalytic thing is happening in this Aquarius season and like Jesus fuck. Always sometimes too, the astro chats, you guys will say like really dark shit sometimes. And then you'll be like, yeah, so this is why you feel like that. I'm like, yep, preach. Or like whenever you guys are like, oh, how was this last full moon for you? I'm like, fuck off. Like literally fuck off.
It's good. It's all for the good. It's all for the good.
Always is.
It's a realignment.
Just another opportunity for growth, and the universe does not fuck around.
Well, I think it all depends on like level of awareness, whenever you don't know what you don't know, and oftentimes becoming aware of what you don't know.
Self-aware, but at what cost?
Baby.
Self-aware at what fucking cost?
But this is where astrology is a little bit easier. It's easier to take it in third person in that way, where it's like, oh, wow, maybe this is an explanation for why I continuously do this thing that I really don't want to do. Now, you could totally be like a complete psychopath and use that as justification to continue doing it. Like, oh, my astrology says that I'm just
an asshole today.
Like, oh, well, in my chart, I'm just going to communicate like shit today. Guess I'm going to piss my girlfriend off. That's not how that works.
I'm going to pick a fight with her.
You can try. You
Mars
can
is in Scorpio.
Yeah,
I'm going to freak out.
Scorpio. I'm going to go freak out. You can do that if you want. Would highly advise against you. Explaining that to the judge whenever consequences hit the fan there. But
yeah, maybe don't do that.
Yeah. What I'll say is we are not victims of our astrology. Astrology is a tool and a guidebook for us, a playbook. When somebody is running a play against you in any sport, you have to respond to that with another play or a counter. And so that's entirely. We just get a playbook. Astrology is a playbook.
Yeah, literally. It is a playbook. Yeah. Well, oh my gosh. Well, I love this. I want to have you on again, go even more in depth with this, but we are coming to the end of our episode. I think we got two amazing topics, amazing, good little intro to astrology and just a little bit of a different perspective, because I think you were the first astrologer. Huge reason why I wanted to have you on is you were the first person to talk about it in such like a real, raw way. And hence why you're literally raw ascension, you're raw foodist, you're raw everything. So you like it raw.
I like it raw.
You need it. You need it raw. Everybody does. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been absolutely fucking amazing. Thank you for coming on today and sharing your time and energy with me and all the listeners. I hope this, sparked a little thing in people's brains. Go do your research. Go study your birth chart. Go ask Jozie your birth chart. And if you're interested, of course, obviously. Yeah. All right. Well, as always, I love you all. Love yourselves. Peace and blessings. And pass on fucking astrology. And with that, we are out.